Cue.
All right, so, guys, I want to start by asking you all a question. I want you to imagine what you could be doing right now instead of being in this room. I want you to just think about that, all the work you could be getting done, all the people you could be talking to. I want you to think about that feeling that you get when you are waiting for a text back from some really important text, that feeling, okay? Now, lastly, I want you to think about that feeling you get when you leave your house, or you leave somewhere, and you forget your phone. It's a horrifying feeling, and this all stems from the same place of being connected, of life moving fast. You know, of just, you need that response right away. You need to get things done right away. It's a very fast thing. So what I want to tell you all is that this feeling that you have when you think about these things, of all the things you can be doing right now, not something you need to feel. You don't need to feel connected at all times. You don't need to feel fast and like you're moving places at all times. And I can't solve that stress for you entirely, but I can give you some tips, one in particular, that I think will help you a lot. And that is to just take a break. Now, I know that breaks are simple, and it seems simple, like, you just take your work, set it on the ground. But I think that breaks are dramatically undervalued in today's society. I think we are living in a world of going, and where breaks are considered not valuable at all. But they're really valuable. Not only do they provide productivity, which I'll go into, but they also provide a level of peace for us. So let's start by talking about the productivity part. So the University of Illinois, they did this awesome study, and they determined that brief diversions vastly improve focus. So they would have people work and have these little brief diversions. They'd come back and they'd actually be more focused in general. And at the surface, it might not make a lot of sense, right? Because it's like, well, no, to focus, you focus. You don't not focus to focus. But if you think about your body or your mind as a machine, it makes a lot more sense, right? Because, you know, who here would never fill up their car with gasoline and then go outside and be like, why isn't my car turning on? What's wrong with my car? Like, you would know. You'd be like, oh, well, I wasn't putting gas in the tank, of course. But we do this to ourselves all the time. We work till 9 a.m. to midnight sometimes, you know, we're in college, stuff's busy. And at the end we go, why am I so tired all the time? Why am I so exhausted? It's obvious. You just need to take a break. Now, there's another level of productivity that benefits from this. And it's that, this is the University of Columbia, and it says that activity in numerous brain regions actually increase when our minds are wandering. So, the question might be then, why is this the case, or how is this the case? There's a pretty clear example that some of you might relate to. Who here has their best ideas in the shower, or when they're about to fall asleep? When you're just sitting there chilling and you're like, oh man, this makes sense. I just figured out this whole thing. Well, it would be awesome if you were having these ideas in an environment where you weren't about to fall asleep or naked in the shower. It'd be great if you had these ideas at a time where you could use them productively and use them at a time that was worthwhile. You could write them down. And that's what breaks actually can provide. They refuel us and they reinvigorate us with new ideas and better ideas. So along with that, though, they provide peace. Now, this is, I think, the most important thing that they provide. And I want to go into why that's the case, and more, I want to start with talking about how we don't really live in a peaceful place or a peaceful time. We live in a very stressful time, and kind of talk about how breaks can cut us loose from that. So I want to start with this quote from Dr. Stephanie Brown. And she wrote this in a New York Post article. She said, "You juggle 10 plates while you brag about your 90-hour week and pop your Ambien to get to sleep. This is success in America. Progress equals fast, which equals success. That's a recipe for addiction." This quote hit me really hard. Over time, as I was thinking about it, I realized that it's a systemic issue. It's not a human thing. It is not human of us to work ourselves to the bone and then, you end up going to mental health experts and trying to find help. This is a societal thing that we live in, that we exist in, is this whole society of speed and going fast. And we've grown accustomed to it, and I would say even addicted to it. Now, this isn't just present in terms of, I guess, getting work done per se, it's also in terms of the way that we entertain ourselves. So Father John Misty, he's not a clergyman, he's a musician. He has a song called Total Entertainment Forever. And this title, it's a whole satire on modern society, but this title in particular, I think summarizes a lot of the world that we live in. We live in this world of social media, of music, of movies that are constantly seeking for our attention, that are constantly seeking for us to pay attention to them, to watch them, and they tell us that by engaging with them, we will be more happy. Sometimes we are, actually often we are, because we're constantly getting these serotonin drips, right? But the truth is that we don't often, it disconnects us from time where we could truly be thinking, where we could be breathing, where our minds could be just existing. We're so connected, and breaks, which we'll go into exactly how this is the case in a second here, they allow us to disconnect from this kind of addictive cycle. And now some of you might be like, all right, look, I'm busy, I'm working hard, I'm doing my best, I don't have time for breaks all the time. Look, so what I want to tell you all now, the next part of my presentation, is how to break. Now, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, it seems pretty simple. You take your work and you stop doing it. But the thing is that you can break better. And a lot of us are pretty bad at taking breaks because we've mainly been taught to not take breaks. We've mainly been taught to work hard and to work hard and work hard. So the first step in taking a good quality break is to define a time, a structured break. So here's the thing, we are all busy, but if you think ahead of time, you go, okay, I have 5 minutes or I have an hour, and you plan that ahead of time, you make that time valuable. You make it mean more to you personally. What I mean by that is, if your break is just like, I don't know, hopefully I have some free time and I'll use it here and there, you're not valuing that free time as much as if you just set it apart. You said because when you have a specific amount of time, well, it's also partially so you don't spend hours binging Netflix, which, hey, that's great. Also, not always the most productive thing. What it allows you to do is it allows you a time to focus on re-energizing. Okay? So that's the hardest part of this, is that you need to take the time to find what re-energizes you, what makes you more when you're done doing whatever activity it is, you should finish and feel better about it. You should feel good, right? So it's about identifying what those things are. Okay? And the last step is to do it. You do it every single day. To break a habit, the best thing you can do is to form a better habit. Form something that's worthwhile. Something that breaks you from this constant going and going and going, right? So I have found so much joy in this process of taking breaks, taking better breaks. I realized as I was taking these breaks that I was actually forming a level of peace in my daily life, that I wasn't thinking about things as going and going and going, that I was actually, you talk about taking the time to smell the roses, I was doing that. It was fantastic. Now, this all might sound like a lot, and it is, but once you start doing it, you realize it's pretty practical and it's really beneficial. So I encourage you all to start doing this. Tonight, I ask you all to go and to find a time, a specific time, where you will just take a break tomorrow. And where you're going to try to find, you have to experiment some, but find something that re-energizes you, whether that's taking a walk, doing anything like that. And I know that you will greatly benefit from it. I, in fact, know that by doing this, that the world, now, I'm not saying this could change the entire world at night, all through one time, but if everyone just started taking breaks and making them a priority in their lives, I know it would be better. I know that the world would be a more peaceful and a more productive place.